the main man, my buddy. He's the greatest. And people want to know, is Baldy doing a remote from a submarine off the coast of Cape Horn? Well, let's find out. Look at that. Look at that shirt. Looking good there, buddy.
A hula bowl. Hey, I'm not in the submarine. I'm right back where I belong here, cuz right in the third floor at NFL Films, place you're very familiar with.
Yes.
Not around the Cape of Good Horn. I have been there, not in the submarine, but it's not that time of the year right now.
You've been to Cape Horn?
Oh yeah, Cape Horn and the Cape of Good Hope, both of them.
Wow.
Yeah, no, but I mean, look, if you're going to go down to Antarctica, you got to go around the Cape of Good Horn. You got to go through the Straits of Magellan. I mean, that's where Magellan went to try to find the Pacific.
There's no doubt in my mind, all right? Can we get Baldy's volume up a little bit for me? There's no doubt in my mind that because I believe in reincarnation. I believe in old souls and all that stuff. And you are definitely, you were an explorer in your back in the day.
Well, Magellan left Spain in 1518 to circumnavigate the globe. It took him 5 years. He didn't make it. 5 ships left, and once they came out of the Mediterranean and they crossed the Atlantic and they hugged the coast of South America, they knew that there was a passageway. They went into some rivers. Then they finally found the pathway, which is now the Straits of Magellan. So, if you want to get down to Antarctica, you got to go through the Straits of Magellan, cuz. So that's the Cape of Good Horn right there.
So what have you been to Antarctica? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've been to all 7 continents. Yeah.
What's Antarctica? All right, but before we get into football, I need to know this. What is Antarctica like? Like what do you see? Paint me a
strip where planes land on part of it. But when you start descending into Antarctica to that strip, there are just cathedrals of ice that are just rising out of the sea right there. Like you look like you're in a completely different world, a different planet, just at what you see. And so when I was down there, which was about 8 years ago, they have this Antarctica peace treaty where 20 to 25 countries have all come together. And they're all sharing information: global warming, penguin migration, ice caps study, and all that kind of stuff. I saw, I was down there traveling with some blue whales and looking at some different things down there. But it really is just this. It's interesting because the landmass of Antarctica doubles in size during the winter. So this ice just continues to just expand.
Right.
As the weather gets colder and colder. So all the people that were trying to discover the South Pole, I mean, they would land their ships down there, in Antarctica, and eventually their ships would get crushed by the growing ice. And so they had to kind of figure this out, the timing of it and all this. It's just, it's a fascinating part of the globe.
It really is. And this is why I love, like, we've been friends a long time, but one of the things I love about you is that you're a wordsmith, right? Like when you give me cathedrals of ice, like that's something I would write. Like I would write cathedrals of ice. That's beautiful, Baldy. People don't realize the depth of your brain. Like you are a brilliant dude. Like beyond just like you're a great football man. That goes without saying. But you're a supremely intelligent dude.
Well, I tell you, I will never forget the flight to Antarctica. So we're in the very southern tip of Chile, and we have this flight arranged, and it's kind of a cargo plane that goes 3 days a week down there. So they told us, they said it's all based on weather. Like, the flight was supposed to go at 7 in the morning, but they said if at 3:30 it clears up and we get an opening, we're going. So, 3:30 we get a phone. We're all in one little hotel room because we didn't want to one room gets the call, the other room. So we're all in one room, 3 of us. And we get a call 3:30 morning. Look, we've got an opening. We got to go right now. There'll be a van to pick you up in 10 minutes. So we're all packed up. We go outside. It's raining like sideways, right?
Oh my
And we
God.
get to this plane, and like literally, we're like, "This is what the clearing is." Well, the clearing was once you got off the landmass, and so we took off for this driving rainstorm. And then the cool thing was, as we were descending into Antarctica, the sun was coming up, and so just the all of a sudden you're seeing like I said, like these ice masses, like mountains of ice. And then and the sun's coming up, and now we're seeing like this landing strip, and we're like, are we sure? Like this is what we're doing? And the captains, there's like literally 6 of us on the plane, so it was a cool experience.
Wow. Wow. I want to crock you. That's unbelievable. 6 people, and you're seeing this thing in the world. God bless you, Baldy. God bless you. I could do this all day, and we probably have done this once or twice all day. I do have to ask you about, let's start with the Eagles, and let's start with the signing. You get Mailata back, and you get Well, you lock in Mailata, and then you get Avante Maddox back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, they extended Landon Dickerson earlier, 6 weeks ago, and now they extend Jordan Mailata. So now you got your left side locked up, and that should be music to Saquon's ears because he's never seen the left side the way those two guys play. And really, it's kind of fascinating. Like literally, I've known Jordan since he came here from an international program in 2018. Kind of followed him, started breaking him down early. Kind of saw something, really right away. But these guys, Dickerson and Mailata, people don't when people say that the NFL is a fraternity cuts, like literally, Jordan Mailata was the best man in Landon Dickerson's wedding, and then Landon Dickerson was in Jordan's wedding. They both got married last off season. Like they will be best friends for the next 50 years. Like literally, and the wives, their families, they're all grow together. And now they play the left side. They're inseparable. They come on the field together. They walk off the field. They eat together. Like they're the definition of fraternity. For Avante, literally, like the Eagles secondary was a mess last year. Only Washington was worse, and it really started with the injury to Avante. They did not have a slot corner. They went through so many different guys to try to play that position. He's a good slot defender. And so getting him back, I think, it's a start to try and get in this secondary back on track where it was just a mess last year.
It's interesting because we had Jordan on at the Super Bowl. You and I were hanging out with him, and we love him, right? Like the whole thing. We go way back with him when he first comes and the Eagles first draft him, and Vi takes him under his wing. Yep. In fact, you and I were at one of Vi's events, and he sang, and that's the first time we're like, this dude's outrageous that he's the voice of an angel.
Well, he sang that day, and he played the ukulele. Whiskey River, I think he sang Whiskey River that day. Yeah. All the Polynesians sat at a table. It wasn't nearly big enough for Seumalo and Suapeta and, Mailata. I mean, there was 7 of them there. Of course, Vi was the MC. It was his event, and they all showed up in mass. But, yeah, Jordan is a talented guy. That ukulele in his hands looks like a toothpick in our hands, for him. So, but he's wonderful. He's a tremendous guy, and you never have to worry about Jordan. He's got, everything's in the right place. He just had to get his weight up, because honestly, early in his career, he was playing at 360. He was playing too light. Once he got up to 385, the injuries went away, and he's been a lockdown left tackle.
Yeah, he's just a massive, massive human being. Anthony Gargano Show brought to you by the Bet Park Sportsbook app. Make sure you download today and have some fun this weekend. One of the other things with this line, now I know you lose Kelsey, but you're still really intact, right? Like, because you have the bookend tackles, and you know what Lane means to this team. Like Lane Johnson is such an incredible leader. So your line is still in a good spot.
Yeah, well, look, they drafted Cam Jurgens to be the heir apparent to Jason Kelsey. Now, I think he's going to be a really good center. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that he can be Jason Kelsey, but I think he's going to be good. I mean, Jason was involved in the drafting of him. He watched a lot of the tape when he was coming out of Nebraska 3 years ago, and, along with Stoutland and, some of the scouts. And so, they sort of targeted Camp to be that next guy, and he has shown when he has played center, he has shown that he's capable of doing it. So then you look at right because they've lost a lot of depth. They've lost Jack Driscoll, they lost Suapeta, they've lost a lot of depth. And Tyler Stevens, the guy that played right guard, looked okay last year. But that
we both liked him. Remember, we were breaking his film down, and he looked physical. Like he road graded a couple dudes.
Yeah, no, he in limited time that he got last year, he looked fine. I mean, most NFL players make their biggest jump between their first and their second year. I expect Tyler to do that. Stoutland's close to that Alabama program. He came from Alabama. Mm-hmm. He almost went back to Alabama. Like he's got the pulse of that organization and that what Nick was doing there for a long time. But I feel like, and I've talked to some guys, in that building. They're looking for a massive right guard, and so I've given them a couple names of guys I think that they got the 50 and 53rd pick. Landon Dickerson was a second round pick. Like you could get Pro Bowl guards in the second round. So there's a couple guys out there that I got my eyes on that won't surprise me if they are either pick number 50 or 53.
Who do you like? Let's take a look at because now's the perfect time because it's this draft. I know you've been spending hours and hours in the film room kind of going through all your position groups. Who do you like there?
Well, my number one guard is Cooper Beebe from Kansas State.
Yeah.
You watch him against Texas, and you watch him against some elite defensive tackles, and he just covers them up. He's 335 pounds. He might be a little bit more than that, but he moves well. He's just a big, wide body in there, and I think that guy is somebody that can literally plug and play. Graham Barton at Duke was a left tackle at Duke. He's training down with Duke Manyweather in Dallas right now, Frisco, Texas. And he started the last 2 years at left tackle. He's a really great athlete. He's 6'5", he's 313 pounds, and he ran a 5 flat 40. I mean, he can really run. Now, people think his best position is center because he played center as a freshman at Duke when a lot of guys got hurt, and he looked fine. It's a good draft for centers. But he's basically said that he's talked to a lot of teams in his visits and at the combine, and depending on the team, I mean, some people still think he can play left tackle. Some people think he's a center, and some people think he could be an all-pro guard. The way Zach Martin went in. I'm not comparing him to Zach Martin, but Zach Martin was left tackle at Notre Dame, and Quentin Nelson was left tackle at Notre Dame, came in and became all-pro, guards. I feel like Graham Barton can be that type of guard as well. And the way that he runs, they've always been very athletic at that position. And so he would keep up that type of tradition when those guys, when the big elephants want to get out on the move and start, kind of rebuilding the offensive line in the perimeter. He's certainly capable of doing that.
I'd say even that. When the big elephants want to get out on the move, like that. Like I just imagine. I just saw. I don't know if you just saw that video where there was a one of these ranges in South Africa. There was an angry elephant that charged a group of onlookers and knocked over the vehicle.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I know you've been on safari.
I've been to Kruger Park in South Africa, and literally, you come to this park and they see these pictures of elephants that have just stepped on these vehicles, and just crushed them, with one step. So they will get close. It's no reason to get closer. Both the elephants in the wild and the tigers in the wild just don't get too close. They charge.
Yeah, I'm messing around with that. Hey, let me go league-wide for a second, and I'm curious because the big story in the NFL was the trade of Stephon Diggs to Houston. Now, you and I both loved Houston. Like we're all about C.J. Stroud. We loved what he did. Now, all of a sudden, you had Diggs to Tank Dell and Nico Collins. And man, like those three receivers, that's cool. They're going to be incredible.
They can be for sure. It's the trade is really bizarre. First of all, it looks like Stefan was trying to get out of Buffalo and
Yep.
trying to orchestrate this thing weeks ago. All right, so
You remember when
there's
his
stories.
brother? Do you remember when
Huh?
his brother chimed in? Well, you and I were talking about it.
Yeah, Trayvon Diggs. So it really doesn't make any sense what Buffalo is doing. I mean, they're taking a $31 million cap hit to trade Stephon Diggs. It like just and then they don't have any really body that can step in and fill. Now you can say, and it's true, Joe Brady, when he took over last year, they became a run first team and they really emphasized run. All that's true. You still got to throw it on third downs. You still got to throw it in the red zone. You still have to throw it to win games. So you can be a run first team. You still have to. Lamar Jackson was a run first team. He still threw it to Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews and everybody else. You still got to throw it to people. You still need guys that can beat man coverage. If you're playing Miami, you got to beat Jalen Ramsey if he's locking you up. So, like, the trade doesn't really make sense to me from Buffalo's standpoint. But for Houston, look, they got basically after they voided the last 3 years of the contract, they're getting a 1 year rental for Stephon Diggs. Okay, I think there's a conversation in that room with Nick Caserio, the general manager, and D'Amico Ryan's head coach, and probably CJ going, look, we're taking this guy. It might be a 1 year rental. We got to make it work. We know that there can be some combustibility with him at certain points during the season, practice, off season, whatever. Like, are we strong enough to handle this? And I think D'Amico's like, give it to me. Give me the talent. I'll make everything work. And I feel like D'Amico, Caserio, they're like, we can handle whatever Stephon. And I feel like Stephon's on a 1 year deal, basically. I think he knows he's got to be on his best behavior. Like, he's on his third team. People are talking about him. They're talking about the sideline blowups. Like, I feel like, and I know Stephon, and he is a wonderful, wonderful guy. Like, really lighthearted, fun, loves every fan that he comes in contact with. I mean, he's a good guy. You want him on your team. I think it's a good fit. I think, Houston is just loading up. They load up on their defensive line. They load up in free agency. They hit in the draft last year. When they targeted Will Anderson, they got the defensive rookie of the year. And then, I feel like this is another good draft for them, and they're up and competing with everybody in the AFC.
Yeah, it's so weird how the thing kind of went askew in Buffalo when, look, you got a great quarterback in Josh Allen, and he is by far the number one target, right? Like, listen, up until this year when they kind of go more run, he's it. Like, it's Stephon Diggs, and you have your Gabe Davis, and now you got tight ends, but it was really him as the primary receiver, and that's why I'm confused how it all just kind of went awry.
Yeah, I don't know either. Josh Allen, he ran for 15 touchdowns last year. The guy, he put the team on his back, and they were 5-5. They lost to Philadelphia here in overtime, and then they won. They won 5 in a row, and they won 5 of the last 6 to get to the playoffs, win the division for a third year in a row. I mean, he just elevates people around him. Dalton Kincaid will probably catch 100 balls this year. He'll probably be the next Travis Kelce or something close to it. They'll lean on him. You got to see what some of these – we'll see what they draft and how quickly they can adjust. I'm sure with the 28th pick, maybe they move up. I'm sure they've got certain guys targeted right now that they feel can come in and step in, and I don't know if there could be a number one. I mean, I broke Stephon down the other day. He kind of liked it, but, he wins on third downs. He understands, the hot reads and blitzes. He's excellent after the catch. He'll beat your best corner. When a play breaks down, that guy is working like no other receiver in this league to be that guy that gets in the quarterback's vision to get that ball. Like he wants the action. He's about the action.
Yeah, it's interesting. I want to ask you about the big name receiver, right? Is it better? It's always better to develop and draft and develop your own guy. Like I look at Green Bay and I go, wow, man, look at the array of weapons and how they've developed those. They drafted those young receivers.
How quickly they developed.
Right.
J.D. Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, Luke Musgrave. Tucker Kraft. Like they all were developed in 2 years or less. So it's very, very quick.
And that's the thing. I mean, like that's your almost optimum way. Now, the receiver's always been that, obviously the diva position, and there's, guys want to get out, and look, there's a lot of talk here with AJ Brown and Jalen and that sort of thing. With college football and the great receiver, like you're seeing incredible receivers. There's 3 of them coming out in the draft, like legit game changers. Does that now kind of almost force the diva receiver to kind of not fall in line, but you're not as special as you once were because there's a lot of great ones out there?
I don't know, because we keep seeing, divas act up, and it's been going on for a long time. And so I think it's innate to the position. You don't see it from right tackles in the league. You don't see it from centers. You see it from guys that want the ball. Quarterbacks got to be a big part of it. They got to shut guys up in the huddle. They got to take control. You find out a lot about your quarterback in the leadership when certain guys go off the rails. But I don't know if the glut of receivers coming out, everybody's got 4 wide receivers that they're starting in college football. Rome Odunze is an amazing player. Marvin has been. Malik Neighbors, only the all-time leading receiver at LSU. I mean, those are the big 3, but this thing runs deep. I'm talking to Ricky Pearsall from Florida today on the NFL Network. Like this kid, you could go all the way down to Christian McCaffrey's brother, Luke McCaffrey. You go, he looks a lot. He looks like he's a whole lot more than just big little bro. Like this guy looks like he can play. He's been years. But I mean, it's deep. Lad McConkey. I mean, Keon Coleman. I mean, there's 15 guys.
McConkey's a bit of a sleeper too because he got hurt last year, and like when you think about him, he's got that third down, sure-handed. He's going to catch everything. He's going to find space. He's the kind of guy that's a valuable piece of an offense.
He's a good route runner. He's got good quickness. I just remember last year in training camp, I was with the Ravens one day, and I met Zay Flowers for the first time. He was the first-round pick. And as soon as I met the kid, I'm like, he's just one of these bright bulbs that just lights up the room.
Tyrese Maxey.
You watch him just, running by Marlon Humphrey in practice and stacking them, and you go, this kid's he's going to be the number. I mean, I walked away from that. He's their number 1 wide receiver. You can talk about Odell, and you can talk about Rashad Bateman. You can talk about all these guys. I'm like, that's their number 1 receiver right there. And it was like, and I feel like if you talk to Rome Odunze, you go, I don't care where he goes. He's going to be the number 1 receiver. Like if he goes to Chicago at 9, or if he goes to the Jets at 10, I mean, he's a bigger, stronger, faster Garrett Wilson. He's going to walk into the room. You spend 10 minutes talking to Rome Odunze, and you're like, man, that guy is smart.
Yeah.
He's mature. He's got every skill needed to be a star. I mean, I do think they're a lot better prepared coming in. And some of these guys, like they're good route runners right now, and they're ready to go beat your number 1 corner.
Yeah, it's fun to watch that whole thing. Hey, so let me ask you, because it's a big weekend in Philadelphia. WrestleMania is here, right? Were you a wrestling fan? Did you ever? I could see you being in a match. Like, did you ever get invited and do that stuff? Like, I would put Baldy up against the Hulk back in the day.
I remember seeing the Hulk working out back in the day down at Crunch Fitness in South Beach. And I don't know how old Hulk was when I was watching him work out. He was probably in his 50s. He still looked amazing. I was always drawn to the entertainment value. If you look at all the sports in this world, I don't care if it's MMA, the NFL, NBA, from a global perspective, nothing comes close to the WWE or WWF. Nothing comes close to wrestling. Like if you look at just the digital footprint that wrestling is, there's no sport in the world that comes close to it. Soccer, like they blow everything away, because what Vince McMahon created was the ultimate entertainment. You have basically a villain out there in the mat, and everybody is. I mean, it's just like politics or wars or anything else. We need a good villain. We need We need Al Davis in the NFL
Yeah.
to become a better. We just need villains in this world, and that's what wrestling figured out. We're going to put villains in the ring, and we're going to just make people choose a side. And it's the ultimate entertainment. It's going to be fantastic here, in Philadelphia. I can't wait to see the turnout, the coverage, the buzz, the whole thing.
Yeah, The Rock, he made his way in town yesterday, like it was a big deal. Coming back to the ring. You're right. So who were your favorite wrestlers? I know between you and your brothers, like you had WWE right there in the Baldinger household.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been watching. It was a big sport. I lived in Minnesota. It was a big sport in Minnesota. So I mean, all those guys were on TV every Saturday night.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was in black and white. For whatever reason, but I was a fan of just the whole sport. I don't know if I had a favorite guy,
right?
But I was a fan of just the whole. I don't know. The Savage was. I mean, these guys were just. I always envisioned like just wanting to be in the ring and just selling the fight. Like I just think that's the ultimate, getting in the ring and grabbing a mic and just staring somebody down. Like it's fantastic.
You would have been great at it. The pick you would have been going this way. You would have been a great, like you would have been the good guy though. You're not a villain. I think you have to be the good guy.
Yeah, probably like that. But I would have. I would have done the back roads high school gyms. I would have been there. Coming off the ropes in Connecticut, training, trying to learn some new moves. Like I would have been an innovator in the sport. I'd come up with something different.
The Baldy straggle, I love it. I love it.
Like, we used to have all these guys when I was with the Cowboys, all trained in this one gym. The Von Erich brothers. Like I'd see all these guys in the gym all the time training. So like we all became friends over a period of time.
Really? Who's the most when you think about when you think about like training and all that stuff, who's the most like the strongest dude that you ever worked out with? Forget wrestling, but even in the NFL, you're
not going to believe this. You won't believe this. The strongest guy. I mean, there's Larry Allen. Okay,
right.
I've never seen it. The strongest guy I ever saw work out was Wilt Chamberlain.
Really?
Yeah. Now, Wilt Chamberlain, I saw him in a gym at a Super Bowl in San Diego one time, and he was the only one in the gym. It's the middle of the afternoon. We're at this Marriott, and I see Wilt, and I go up to him, and I introduce myself. I was the biggest fan of Wilt there was when I was a kid, because that was my favorite NBA team as a kid. It's the first, Wilt and the whole group. Hal Greer, so Billy Cunningham, that whole team. But Chet Walker, Wally Jones, I still know those guys.
That's cool.
I saw Wilt, and he was lifting weights. And I said, how much, Wilt? Honestly, I know that you're one of these guys that love to, inflate things, but what could you bench back in your day? Now, this is a 7'2". He said he benched 600 pounds.
Oh,
and I
my God.
I believed him. I believed Wilt.
600 pounds?
I saw him he probably passed away not too far after I met him, but he still looked like amazing, absolutely amazing shape.
Oh.
Like he could still play in the NBA. Like he looked every bit as good as Shaq ever did at his very best back when I met him. He wasn't as thick as Shaq, but just from a cut, big, thick standpoint, I think he was the most impressive guy.
That's awesome. I got to tell you, brother, this is why I love our visits. Our weekly visits are the greatest. We covered Antarctica and the cathedrals of ice. We covered, obviously, all the football and receiver. We get to geek out about the draft and receivers and all the Eagles stuff, wrestling, and Wilt Chamberlain. You are Forrest Gump.
We covered a lot of ground, Gus.
Yeah.
That was good.
You are. Yeah. You're the best. Brother, have a great weekend. We love you. We'll talk to you next week, okay?
All right, come on to the film room, cuz. Let's go watch some players.
Can't wait. I'll bring the beers. Thanks, buddy.
All right, let's geek out. Let's go, brother.